we need to have a conversation about the massive growth of perimenopause and menopause programs, especially from people who, within the last 5 years, were putting out pregnancy and postpartum programs for you to buy. Let's talk about it for what it is. Perimenopause and menopause right now are trending. I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm not poo-pooing it. I think that came out of the last couple years talking about, debunking the 2001 WHI study, where basically everybody was talking about hormones and estrogen to breast cancer. We've clarified that conversation. We're talking about more safety using hormone therapy. We're talking about it in postpartum populations, and that's where I think the crossover is starting. But here's the trend that I am seeing that's exactly the same freaking thing that happened in pregnancy and postpartum, is the rise of just because you went through it gives you the ability, experience, expertise to talk about it and sell a program for it. And this is where credit where credit's due. If you created a pregnancy postpartum program and you have a following of people, you've established a customer base that trusts you and adores you, it only makes sense to follow through to that next step. And absolutely there can be a crossover between perimenopause and postpartum. I've talked about that frequently, especially here in the DC area, where most of my new mom patients are late 30s, early 40s, even mid 40s. That's a very, very clear reality, that moms don't have a ton of time between the two, and there's a lot of crossover between those symptoms. So I think there's very much a place for that conversation. What unfortunately I think is being created is women in their 20s, maybe early 30s, that aren't knocking on the door of perimenopause. And if you are mid to late 30s and there's primary ovarian insufficiency, meaning you do have an earlier onset of peri and menopause, yes, absolutely, let's have this conversation. But I'm talking about kind of the average person. You got some time, there's no rush. But again, understand this is coming from a commercial motivation. It's coming from a marketing motivation. It's coming from people seeing trends in what's interesting, and they have a customer following and they want to establish these programs. And it feels, again, almost exactly like the Wild West of early postpartum days. And again, if you look at the data, so much more of the data is looking at women who have been in menopause, not necessarily looking at the wide expanse of experiences that can occur across the 10 years of perimenopause. And so what I will say is this, is what I say about every other kind of situation, is we can look at general information, we can look at stuff that's out there, and then we have to understand our own experience. Are you potentially at risk for, going into early perimenopause in your late 30s, early 40s? Do you have the risk factors? Is this a conversation you need to pay attention to? If it's not, you don't need to buy now. You just don't. And give it a couple of years, because we'll know a lot more. We know a lot more about pregnancy and postpartum exercise than we did 5 years ago. It's not going to take that much. Even with all the setbacks here in the States, the Canadians are going to save us, and researchers in other parts of the world. So don't feel like, oh, I need to buy it now and learn more so that I know more later. You don't need to do that. We're going to know differently later. Also be aware that, again, you may have people that you're buying from that don't know the data, don't know anything other than their own experience. Maybe they haven't gone through it yet, but they're just kind of winging it, just like before. And so I caution you. And the reason why I know that this is occurring is because now I literally have a friend that we have a text stream that I ask her every morning how many weighted vests she's seen today. And it's just, it's a joke. People I have never seen, and this is, again, I'm not poo-pooing it. If the weighted vest gets you out walking, do it. And I've seen that happen. There's women at the pool that I have known to just sit in a chair during practice 4 or 5 years in a row, and now they're up and walking, and they're walking with their weighted vest, and that's fine. If buying that weighted vest gets them up walking, that's fine too. Don't frankly care, but you don't need it. And for those people that are like, you're probably not in perimenopause, but you feel like you need to read ahead, don't feel like you need to do that too, okay? What I see is just a lot of pressure and marketing to, you need to know about this, you need to be prepared. Okay, let's just go back for a second. Remember in pregnancy, they're like, you need to know this stuff, you need to be prepared. And then you got to postpartum and you're like, yeah, okay, none of this that I prepared for was right. It's kind of the same thing. So come in with, don't forget that experience. Come in with the perspective that this is, you're going to learn some things as you go. We're going to, research is going to get caught up. You're going to have your own experience, individual rules apply, that kind of stuff. Align yourself with voices that are evidence informed instead of just experiential. And, don't feel like you need to plunk down the, 1995 or whatever that is right now, because you probably don't. What I can recommend is talk to providers potentially that are certified by the Menopause Society. That's a great place to start if you truly have questions. Talk to your own provider, and I think start there. So that's my PSA for today.